on the News Channel 5 network. This is OpenLine.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Open Line on this Monday night. So glad you're with us. Thank you for being with us for a great topic tonight and a wonderful guest. Let me introduce you to Dr. Reavis Mitchell. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the invitation.
Our topic tonight is Black History Month and things that are happening throughout our city to celebrate Black History Month. And Dr. Mitchell has a conference coming up that you have co-chaired, been going 37 years strong. We're going to be talking a lot about that and other happenings throughout the city. You're a professor at Fisk and also a dean over there. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a native Nashvilleian. I'm very proud of that. My family's been here as far as we can trace for about 5 generations. Wow. So we're very pleased. And I've been at Fisk since 1980. I went there as a one-semester replacement in 1980.
Must have liked it, I guess.
yes. But today I'm Dean of the School of Humanities and Behavioral Social Sciences and Professor of History. And we're really excited at Fisk and its place in Nashville's history. Fisk opened in 1866. We were a part of the Great Experiment after the Civil War. And the Great Experiment was to make sure that the new Americans, the African Americans, those who had been enslaved and were free, could be educated. Education was a great challenge. 3 million people are suddenly free, but can you exist in freedom without education? So we've been attempting to meet that mandate, and I think doing a pretty good job since 1866, 152 years.
And as you mentioned, played a critical role in the civil rights movement here in Nashville. We'll be talking about that throughout the show. And still today, a critical role in how and what shapes this city.
Yes, and since so many of our students come from outside of the city and nationally, internationally, what shapes the world? I hope at Fisk, I believe at Fisk we're doing a good job in educating these bright young people to step out into leadership roles. And that's what's important. That's the whole mission of education. For years at Fisk, we've believed that education and successfully educating people is the American dream. You can't have the dream if you aren't educated.
Very true.
Yes.
We were just talking about how literacy has such a critical role in that.
Yes. America, we're a great nation, but much of our greatness depends upon the literacy of our people. And especially at this point in humankind, in human development, we just can't, in the United States, allow individuals to be listed as illiterate. If you look at the dream that many people chase when they come to America, it's the probability of being educated. Education is critical for a good life. People think about for jobs, but not just for jobs, but for a good life. Yes, for illiteracy, it can be a curse. If you can't read, you don't understand what danger means on those danger signs. If you can't read, in some instances, you don't know which bathroom to go into. Being illiterate is just it's understandable. So, and Nashville and Tennessee, but you know, Nashville often referred to as the Athens of the South. So many institutions of higher learning are here. So we hope we fit into that panorama. We continue to work at it.
Without a doubt, absolutely. We have a whole hour to talk about events associated with Black History Month, which is February. We're 5 days in, by the way. So we're always welcoming your calls. This is Open Line. It's your chance to chime in, be a part of the conversation. The number is right there at the bottom of the screen, 615-737+, or that's 7587. We have Taylor in the back. He will line up those calls for us. If you had an event that you know of, that you want others to know of associated with Black History Month, go ahead and let us know. If you have something that you think is a story that's important to tell as part of this month, go ahead and chime in. In the meantime, I will ask the questions as I always do. Let's talk about the Nashville Conference on African American History and Culture. This is something that you have been a part of for a long time.
Long time.
You're a co-chair.
Yes.
And it's this Friday. I
co-chair with Linda Wynn of Tennessee Historical Commission and the faculty at Fisk. The campus conference will take place this Friday on the downtown campus of Tennessee State University, the Avon and Williams campus here in downtown Nashville. Registration will be possible at the conference. Online registration and mailing registration is closed, but you can register. The cost is $25, and that's for a day of conference. That also includes publications, and we have a community lunch. We always have lunch. We have the people sit down at 12 o'clock, but we're really excited because this year's theme is the panoramic view of the history of African American Nashville.
So how does that play out?
Well, when you look at Nashville's history, it's an inclusive history. When the first settlers came in, they brought their property, and that was their slaves. And so they're here, we're here from the very beginning. So this year the conference opens with an interesting paper on researching and preserving Nashville's early black history, from the Hermitage, Andrew Jackson's home, to Fort Negley, the structure in South Nashville that was built by free blacks and by enslaved as a fortification for the Union Army during the Civil War. That will be presented by Dr. Jane Landers. Dr. Landers is a faculty member at Vanderbilt University. So we're opening up with a paper that goes into the really early history here of Nashville and the African American community. That will be followed by a paper entitled The Power of Preservation, Reevaluating Activism Through Black Material Culture. And that will be presented by Dr. Ashley Brugnot. And this is looking at what people produced, what the African American artists, what the writers, what the carpenters. You often study history both anthropologically and historically, and you tell a lot about people by what they produce, what they had, what they owned. And what's interesting about Nashville, especially about the business history of Nashville, some of the earliest businesses in Nashville were actually operated by African Americans.
Like what?
The first restaurant on the public square, a man named Robert Renfro got a license from the North Carolina legislature, which still claimed Tennessee. And on that spot, Robert Renfro was known as a great cook. Everyone was famous with him. So he opened up a restaurant and bared his name, Black Bob's. Black Bob's sign of the Cross Keys. And believe it or not, occasionally you will still find some piece of flatware or some artifact, some pot that was a part of that, so we can look at the material culture. 3 African American sisters operated a beauty salon where they would press hair. They had learned from their French mistress how to take a flat iron, and people would lay their hair down and press it. These white ladies, and they operated that. So all this type of early business history, cultural history is a part of it, and we're excited about that paper. And then one of the heroes of the American Revolution was a Haitian who came over and volunteered to assist the United States. He was a man of African ancestry, and his name was Toussaint Louverture. And we will have a paper, Dr. Brandon Berg will look at finding Toussaint Louverture in Tennessee. How did he travel here? Was he in and out as he did? He passed through, he had contact here with some people who were working in the resistance against the British, who were really forced out. The Haitians had carried on a successful revolution and actually gained their freedom for Haiti before the new United States. So we're excited about that. And this is a conference on history and culture. There will be an art exhibition be curated by Professor Jamal Sheets, curator of the Van Decton Gallery, Fisk, in the lobby for all to view. And we also have music that's a part of it. And this year there's a presentation called Witness Walls by poets, Bulla and Bryan. And this will be presented before lunch. It's a wonderful segue. Then everyone has lunch. And I tell people when we do the evaluation of a conference, we define unless we fail to serve the very famous double dish peach cobbler prepared by the staff at Tennessee State's downtown campus, the culinary staff. So that's on there. After lunch, a very interesting paper, Dr. Lewis Bowen of the faculty at Vanderbilt, and Dr. Lewis Bowen is one of the leading scholars today on Martin Luther King, and he has presented for the first time at our conference a new research piece called The Age of Trumpism and the Enduring Challenge. And it asks the question of how we maintain King's values given the present climate, the present political climate. So we're interested about that. And then Professor Dr. Herbert Clark has a paper on James Carroll Napier. Now, some of your audience may be familiar with James Carroll Napier's name, J.C. Napier. Right. J.C. Napier was an African American who was very politically well connected, and at one point was the signer of the currency. He signed the American currency. He was he was also a very active businessman, one of the founders of Nashville's Citizens Bank, very active, and so there'll be a paper. Dr. Clark will look at the continuing influence, and Napier was a man who argued for the uplift of the African American community. He was very eager and anxious to support African Americans going into business ventures. So Dr. Clark will present that. And then a very contemporary issue, Education, African Americans, Small and Rural Communities, Lifting and Climbing by Dr. Cynthia Bond Hobson. And it looks at the impact of what's today identified as HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. So we think that's very contemporary. We will have a performance by the Meister Singers from Tennessee State University. And we will close with a really stimulating topic, When Tennessee Traveled, the music of Alberta Hunter. Alberta Hunter was a legendary flame blues singer, and Alberta Hunter was from Tennessee. Okay, and Dr. Katie Ewan will present that paper. So we think it's a full day. It's January the 9th.
This Friday.
This Friday. We encourage really everyone in Nashville, anyone interested in history, and I tell people when they look at February, African American History Month, African American history is a true reflection of American history. African Americans, when they survived slavery and implanted themselves in a system, they made an American nightmare an American dream. I think it's such a wonderful lesson there for all Americans of the possibilities here in this country. So we highlighted in February, and we open up with this conference.
Sounds like an amazing conference. We have so much more to talk about, and we will do that right after we take a quick commercial break. But I do want to remind you, we are taking your phone calls as well. Again, if you have an event you want to highlight, if you have a memory that you want to share, give us a call, 615-737-PLUS. We're coming right back after this commercial break.